tears are what bathe your soul. You feel me? Tears are the bath that your soul needs. Everybody needs a bath.
I might need one tonight.
Come on.
Not having that vulnerability going both ways is sort of what like creates that line where it's like, I can cross this line, but you can't come into my and that disconnect right there just throws us off completely.
Yeah.
Is it okay for me to ask, are you vaccinated? Will that bring like
I feel like I would not put my hand up. I would not be as, like, I would not speak as much. I would not. And when we don't do that, like, people don't see our potential, you know?
To a For Real Fridays, where you'll hear the brilliance, wisdom, and insights of young people who know what's good.
Go ahead, Kai. And then Ellie.
Kind of adding on to what Charm was saying about like kinesthetic learners and teachers, I'm very much a kinesthetic person. I'm gonna use you as an example. I like to touch a lot of things. Like if I'm with you and I'm sitting next to you, it's a little awkward to sit next to her and touch a little bit.
Yeah.
But a thing that we had, because I went to Mayfield, I was in the dance program. My teacher, shout out Miss Langer, she was very kinesthetic. So if we're in ballet right now and I'm over here on the bar and like I'm trying to throw my leg back and it's not right, she's coming over and she's trying to touch me to turn it out. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then when I went in September, when she couldn't touch me, she's like, guys, I don't know how to do this. She's like, I'm so used to. She's like, is it okay? Like, is it cool if I go and I touch you? I said, you better fix it. You better fix it because it's wrong. I'm not trying to get that little tick on the thing, but it's different because mind you, she's an older woman, so one, she's not good with the Zoom thing either. So now she's struggling with that. She's struggling because she wants to touch her students. You know what I mean? She wants to be in tune with her students because she's very kinesthetic. She's very much loving. She'll come up to us. Oh, how was your day? Like she's very much like a bonita. So, but it's something. It was different. It was really different. She had to ask if it was cool if she could like fix us. I said yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And if I'm out here and my turnout's not turned out,
Please.
you better fix it.
Please turn me out. Yes. Ellie.
I just as you were touching on talk about like that line that I feel like teachers feel like they can't cross with students.
Right.
I feel like that's such a restriction placed on them because they go into work and they're like, I have to be professional, I have to be professional. So when they are professional, they sort of miss out on the, you know, how do I sort of turn off that professional switch for a second? How can I touch my students? You know, how can I really tap into their brains and how can I really sort of relate to them in this sort of situation? So I feel like when so many restrictions are placed on them, it's so hard for them to be the teachers that they really can be. I know for me in high school, like a lot of my teachers were very by the book. It was just like, you know, you come into class, open up the textbook or the PowerPoint's up on there, you know, we go through it, that's the end of the class. Versus you hop into other classes and shout out Ms. Smith and Mr. Ladd, but you know, like we literally, it's either you go into class and right away we're having a conversation. You know, it's not like, you know, open your books or take out your pencil or do this. It's like you know, how was your day, or like, how do you think today's gonna be? And like those like natural conversations that we have, I feel like build that relationship. And so when you go into a workplace and that relationships are like forbidden, or you think that you can't cross a certain line because of those restrictions, it makes it harder for the teachers as well. And then on top of like the university thing, I feel like, again, like some teachers, even in high school and elementary, middle, like a lot of teachers aren't very like good with technology. So I feel like one sort of like strong support system that they need is also the students. Because I won't even lie, like the beginning of second year, I was very dismissive. I was like, all these teachers were saying, oh, like, there's a lot of things to mark, like they were giving us so much work, they don't realize like what we're going through. And I was like, a lot of my classmates and I were being very dismissive of like, you know, like teachers are also human. We sort of forgot about that. We're just like, look at all this work they're giving us, like they don't know what we're going through, especially during this pandemic. So when I was being dismissive, I was like, now that we're talking about this, I'm thinking about it and I'm like, wow, like I feel really bad that I was like that now because I'm taking in like, they didn't have that support when we were in class. If something went wrong, like they would have to cancel class. And obviously we're excited, but now they're here like, this is my job. Like if I can't do my job, then what am I gonna do? So one of those like support systems that they can have is definitely from us. So again, like us being here, like us being those leaders that we have to be, like going back to school, like us playing those roles is definitely one of the more important things.
Yeah, I was just gonna add on to that, like us being the new leaders of that like group, like some teachers may not be able to accept that. And obviously, like, there's generations who won't be able to accept that, like, you know, the youth are the voice and this, like, you know, you gotta give us an opportunity to, like, show you what we can do. I feel like if you look at it another way, this is an opportunity to show us, like, show them what we can do. Like, you know, we're gonna be leaders and we're gonna build that bridge to you instead of you coming to us. We're gonna build that bridge to you and help you out in ways that you never thought we could, right? So like that teacher, I gave an example, she may not be good with Zoom, but we are, so now we're building that bridge of movement, right? We're giving them help and stuff, and they're like obviously surprised that, you know, the youth are motivated to do this type of stuff. And people always thought like the stereotypical youth, like, you know, our age, like teenagers, like they're lazy, they're not motivated, they're this and that. But this is an opportunity for us to show that we're ready to go out there and we're ready to go get after whatever we're after. And this just gives the opportunity to be like that leader in the process of getting back to normal instead of just following the older heads or like the elder people. You know, like this is an opportunity for us to shape the next steps. I mean, that's just one to add.
I kind of wanted to take this conversation, I guess, a step further, but like, if you guys remember pre-pandemic, the teachers used to go on strike how often? And it was because they were doing a lot more than what they were getting paid, and the benefits weren't the best and things like that. So now that we have the question of what should teachers do, we're adding even more onto their plate. So how are we compensating them? Like we look at teachers as a huge, like they're agents of socialization. So we have teachers here, we all named so many different teachers, but what are we giving them? Like in return for them, because they realistically just have to teach us. They just have to teach us. Here's not 2 + 2 there. That's it. But now we're saying, oh, we're expecting them to teach us how to connect, you know, create connections between students. We're getting your teacher to, you know, turn, you know, your leg around and make it right. So how much more are we gonna ask from our teachers?
This is deep. This is deep. Because I have a little bit of a different take on, I love that you went there with it. Can we go there?
Yeah, let's go.
Because you know what I'm saying? There are teachers that definitely go above and beyond. Shout out to Ms. Bowen.
Come on.
100%.
Like there are some teachers that just, you know, you set the standard so high that we aspire, you know, to have teachers like that. Some people have that capacity, some people have that heart, some people don't. So there's no judgment, but when we see somebody going above and beyond what they're supposed to be doing, you want to shout them out. Okay, cool. Here's the thing. Yes, they're supposed to come and teach, but they're not teaching just an oral learner. They're teaching a kinesthetic learner, a musically intelligent learner, a visual learner. Like there's so many types of learning out there. So the system itself, just expecting it to be just oral learners that learn, like I'm gonna teach you something, you're gonna hear it, or maybe I'll write it on the board and you're gonna receive it, and then you're gonna, that's the concept. That's whack, that the system would ever even be like expected of that, right? So here's the thing, yes, they are definitely social agents, for sure, 100%, but you've got different personalities in those classrooms. You got young people coming from all kinds of situations from their own life. And I know you're not a social worker, but you're in a social setting trying to teach a concept to somebody who didn't have breakfast in the morning. So their neurons, like neurologically, aren't even firing off to pay attention to you, much less grasp the concept. There's so much more, right? And that's why I think teachers are definitely underrated. They definitely need to be given props 100%. But here we all are in the middle of this pandemic. You chose this profession. Right? You chose to go through teachers college, you chose it. So here we are now, and you're gonna be going back into the classroom, and you've gone through the pandemic with us too. And whichever situation you had to go through, we're here for you as well. But how are we going to support them? Yes, but then what disposition do they have to be in? And I don't think it's asking them too much to come in with humanity. I don't think it's too much to ask them to come in with a disposition of acceptance. That's what you were saying earlier, right? I don't think it's too much to ask. I think that we should have been already there. But because, as Ellie was saying, you know, just the profession, right? I'm just here to do my profession. And there's no understanding that being a human and being a professional, they can one and the same be simultaneously. Interacting with your students. I feel like that's the part that we forget. I know that you're a human coming in, and I know that this is your profession. But two of them, those two things can coexist as you're teaching. You know what I'm saying? And it's just finding the character traits or the dispositions in order to get there. So acceptance, for sure. Patience. Being able to adapt. You feel me? Like as you were saying, we're adaptable. Hopefully we are. Being able to say, I don't really know Zoom. Sharon, can you help me? Are you gonna adapt to be able to be the one that's the student and not just the teacher? Yeah, go.
Sort of just like jumping off what you said, like trying to be able to help with Zoom. I feel like teachers, or I feel like almost all teachers, they're not vulnerable. Sometimes they open up this space to us and they're like, you guys can be as like open as you want, like come, like tell me everything.
Come on.
But then I feel like they don't have that in return. So I feel like they also will not share their experiences. They won't talk to us about that.
Yes.
So not having that vulnerability going both ways is sort of what like creates that line where it's like, I can cross this line, but you can't come into mine. And that disconnect right there just throws us off completely.
Yes. Come on.
And then on top of that, it's like that that teacher and student relationship. It's always been such a strict relationship. It's never been room for anything more than that. And when I mean more than that, I mean like being able to talk about things that are happening at home, or yes, we have guidance counselors, and yes, we have like student nurses at school. But some things, for me, I didn't feel comfortable going to my guidance counselor and talking to them. Yes, they're here to help you with school, life, everything, but me personally, because I've never formed any sort of like conversation with them, it initially was so hard for me to go to my guidance counselor. So automatically, I'm here going to my PE teachers. Exactly, I'm here going to my PE teachers instead of my guidance counselors talking about life. And then I had Miss Squire drag me to the guidance counselor, and she's like, here, like, she can help you. Like, having like them open up like our eyes for other possibilities, I feel like was like very helpful. And again, like going into a profession, like sometimes it's understandable when you go into a profession that you necessarily don't like. I feel like some of us are in like, some parents force professions on their kids,
That's
you need to
another
become a doctor. You need to become a doctor, you need to become a lawyer, all these things. So when that happens, I feel like we're taking away sort of that passion from those people. But then again, like a lot of teachers, like they willingly go into this profession, and just like you said, they forget that being human and being a teacher, like they can easily coexist. And I feel like some teachers, maybe they realize that, but they don't want to put in that effort. And so when they don't, again, another disconnect between the students and the kids. So that's just something I wanted to touch on.
Go. Oh my gosh, you said so many good things. Go ahead.
I want to say I got blessed in high school to have 3 teachers who love me and care about me. Shout out Miss Bowen, shout out Miss Elliott, shout out Miss Whedon. I used to call them my 3 moms. Like that at school. They always looked out for me. Like I had this one teacher who I did not get along with. Like I just couldn't. Like there's I think there's 50 classes or something like that, 52 in a year, and she probably saw me 12 times. Right? Like it said on the report card 12 out of 52. I'm like, it is what it is. Like you come in with that energy, like I'm bouncing off your energy, right? But Miss Bowen and Miss Elliott and Miss Whedon always, like they kind of forced me to be at a certain standard, and I always appreciate them because, like no matter what, like without them, I don't know if I would have gotten past that high school stage, like into the next level of post-secondary. Because Miss Ellie really pushed me. She's like, you know what? Like you play ball, like this and that. But she's like, you don't get your grades up, you're not playing. Right. That's the tough one. Then Miss Bowen came in. She's like, you know what? Time to get those jumpers up. She's always in there. And then Miss Whedon was just a fun one. You went to when your other 2 moms are just yelling at you. Miss Whedon, you go to, you just sit there in her class, even if you don't have her class. She like happily like sit you down like. What is like you just need a break from the day, fine. And like she take the blame like sometimes like you miss out on that class, like I miss out on that science class, and she like Elavan said like you're going to a different teacher to be your advisor, your guidance counselor, for me like a therapist pretty much. Right? Like she did it all, like no matter what, like and Miss Whedon was like, and Miss Ellie were always like open to like becoming more than just a teacher student. They were like at the end of the day they were just respectable like human beings. And I always walked into the class with the most and utter respect for them, but there were certain teachers who like disrespected me as soon as I walked in, so I disrespect them. But like that's not the obvious way to go about it. But like it's for me, it was like back in high school, it was like whatever vibes you give me, I'm gonna give back to you. And that's why she only saw me 12 times. Like, she tried to catch up to me in the hall, like, oh, Sean, don't you have class today? I'm like, nah, I got signed up for it. I'm out there signing myself out, right? But like, it's just like it was that bad that I didn't want to see her at all.
Yeah.
And then obviously I'm sitting in these 3 teachers who I consider my moms, and I'm like, I'm sitting in their class for another period for what reason, right? And then obviously I had my gym teacher, Mr. Ladd Squaresmith. Squaresmith, like if I ever missed a class, Mr. Squaresmith, if I ever missed a class, get on those deadlifts.
So I'm going to take this from me for 1 second. So what I'm hearing is vulnerability and understanding, but that all comes from caring. It's just caring. You know what I mean? Just when you care about the young people that you connect with or teach every single day, how do you not say, this is how I feel? And I think that vulnerability piece right there, I think that's key. I think that's key because, again, I'm a professional. I can't show you my real side or my most authentic side. And there's something to be said about authenticity in the classroom. Let me switch 2 seconds. I know we're over time. Let me just switch for a second and say this causes a lot of mental health issues. This causes a lot of stress for the teachers as well as for the students, because he just said he went to class 12 times. Yeah, I'm not going to class because you stress me out and you disrespect me and I don't feel cared for by you. So therefore, I'm not going to learn what you teach me. That's how it computed for him. Emotions. Let's talk it. There are deep wounds, deep cuts that we get and we have been getting during the pandemic. What is in our emotional first aid kit? What do we have there? What do we use to heal and take care of that? Sharon and then Laksa.
I won't even get into the mental of the pandemic and hitting, because this kind of hits home recently.
Yeah.
If you see some tears, just let them be.
It's okay, let them be. Let them come.
But when it comes to the first aid kit, for me, like when I was like down bad, like my outlet was sports.
Okay.
Right now, you come into a situation where you can't have physical contact, you can't go out there, they're taking down the rims, right? It's funny because they only took down the rims at public schools, but all those schools up in Richmond Hill still have the rims up now. I won't even get there.
That's another conversation.
I won't even get there. But yeah, like, you know, we were out there trying to hoop on like what empty back was, and now we can't even, security come by every 5 minutes, you can't guys, disperse. We'll call the cops, okay, whatever it is, we'll move out. And but it's really hard for somebody like me who like needs that. You know, when I'm down bad, I gotta run, I gotta go to the gym, I gotta go play sport. But then like I found a different outlet. Like I just put myself to work. 2 jobs, you know, like it is what it is. I work 2 jobs right now. Before I had a 3rd job, but I recently let go because there was a weird situation going on over there.
That's okay.
Yeah, I used to work over at Brampton North Nissan. My manager, Gene Fandano, one of the nicest person you ever meet. He's like tatted to the body. He comes into the thing. He's like, I don't care what the customer says to your face, you're right. Because he's like, you know how to do your job, and I put my trust to hire you. That you're right.
Okay.
He's like, if you come to me, if you make a mistake, you come to me first. He's like, you know what? Like, we'll fix it.
Okay.
He's like, money's not an issue. He's like, if we need to fix something out of the pocket of our own thing, because you made a mistake, it's okay. We learn. And he's one of those people who like led me through the process of finding myself again. He put me on to like motorcycles again. He's like, you know what? You'd be great on a motorcycle again. You should get back to doing that again. And I recently did buy a motorcycle when I was working there like 4 or 5 months ago. So
Okay.
he put me through that process of revisioning that like roadmap to get to where I wanted to be. And I still keep in contact with him because he's one of those leaders and mentors in my life, because he came from nothing, like zero square, bottom nothing. Like his parents are immigrants like mine, so he followed that same step. And like he didn't go to college or anything, and he still made something out of himself. He's 36, right? And he has 2 beautiful kids. He does what he wants. He's living a happy life. He doesn't need a lot. And he always says like, I don't need $10 million like mansions or anything. He's like, I'm happy where I am. And I'm just trying to be in that position where I can say, I'm happy where I'm at.
Okay.
Like, people like that is what I need in my life, right? So that was great when I got that.
So you're in your emotional first aid kit. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
And your emotional first aid kit used to be basketball, but then it shifted because things shifted and you had to pivot, and it became a person. So in your personal first aid kit, it needed to be a person that can help you navigate these waters to show you to see, okay, so now you're still good.
Yeah.
You're still good. You just got to get it a different way. Emotional first aid kit. Lakshana, talk to me.
It's not a great one. It's not something I should do, but it's isolation and disassociation.
I can definitely vouch for that. He always yells at me for it. I'm going through something happens. He does not hear from me for weeks. I try to forget the problem by doing things like I'm trying to keeping myself busy. Just because I forget about the problem doesn't make it go away. It's even though I think I'm not thinking about it, but I know I'm thinking about it, you know. But then I kind of turn to, you know, my friends are literally my rock, my gravity. They keep me grounded.
That's okay. What's wrong with that?
Vulnerable thing.
Listen, you better be vulnerable. You better be vulnerable.
Oh Lord.
Listen to me. Listen, let me hold on to that. Let me hold on to that for a second. Let her get herself together. Let me tell you what tears are. It's coming. It's coming. Yeah, let me tell you what tears are. Tears are what bathe your soul. You feel me? Tears are the bath that your soul needs. Everybody needs a bath.
I might need one tonight.
Come on. I take several of them at a time. So let me tell you. I take several of them, and I'm not mad. I'm not mad at you, Mama. So we do that all the time because society says vulnerability is weak. That's not true. You hear me? That's not true. Listen, in our mental health, in order for our soul to be well, we have to allow it to be washed. And the way we wash it is with tears. That's called emotion, and that's called you're human.